Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kogyuls Nation. My name is Secret Agent Nexuiz. I'm the founder and the director of the Kogyuls Industry Spy Network and the Kogyuls Nation. So, you want to play a fast-paced, first-person shooter game, but don't know where to start. This video is for you. Today, we will be looking into the differences between three free software shooters made in the Dark Places engine. Nexuiz Classic from 2005 to 2009, Xonotic from 2011, and Rexuiz from 2015. We will get into the differences between the three games in the overall movement fluidity, gunplay, as well as some bonus miscellaneous things here and there, just to spice things up. A quick side slide before we begin. The code for these games, and the media thereof, are licensed under the GNU General Public License version 2.0 and later. Let's start today's episode with Nexuiz. Nexuiz is a Canadian first-person shooter in the arena deathmatch format. It was developed and published by Alien Trap, starting production in 2001. It did not release until May 31st, 2005. The final release, version 2.5, would be published in October of 2009. We'll get into that in just a minute. Within the confines of this game, it is a dark, atmospheric, and futuristic theme with many classic modes that you would expect in an AFPS, like the now defunct Unreal Tournament. These modes include Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, Domination, and the like. However, a new mode that appears is the Key Hunt. It is a mode where you collect all keys for your team to score points. You can also customize the game further with mutators, which are little rule changes to make the game more interesting for players. For me, I use Instagib, or in this game in Rexuiz, Minstagib, with the grappling hook, as that is my playstyle of choice. I would like to play in a Xonotic or Rexuiz tournament that implements these rules, since I specialize in this type of play. I'm getting off topic though. If you decide to play the regular modes, as you do in the single-player campaign primarily, you will start with the blaster and the shotgun. You can carry the other weapons, like the Krylink, the Hagger, the Electro, and my favorite of this bunch, the Nex. In Xonotic, it is called the Vortex. Most of these weapons will carry over design elements into other games, and I will show you proof of this as we go along. In the arenas, you can find pickups scattered all around, like the other weapons, health, armor, and ammunition. There are also special pickups in these arenas, like strength, which makes you overpowered for 30 seconds. The shield, which decreases the amount of damage you take. That's self-explanatory. And speed, which is also self-explanatory. The health and armor system will take a little bit of adjustment from other games in this subgenre. However, once you get used to it, it's easy to manage when done properly. Your health will move towards 100 with a faster healing rate the further from full health you are. You could go over 100 up to 150, but that's difficult to maintain for an extended period of time. However, the single-player mode is your practice sessions, whereas the real game is in multiplayer, though it isn't used anymore, since being replaced by Rexuiz. That said, can we talk about the movement in this game? Oh boy, it's a little slow for my liking. This loosely fits the Challenge Pro Mode Arena style of movement, in which I had demonstrated in a previous video. It's linked below or on the top right hand corner of your screen now. Before I forget, let's talk about the gunplay real quick. In my experience, due to my playstyle, the gunplay is what you would expect in an AFPS, though I don't normally play the standard modes. I just use a few weapons and don't focus on getting better with the others or comboing with the weapons used in the standard modes. I don't know how to be able to switch to them properly on a keyboard, for goodness sake. I'm not an expert on the subject, and this will show itself the rest of the video with the gameplay in the background. The movement in this game allows you to bunny hop by holding the spacebar, which is not too common in these types of games. Though you can go super fast when using the hook effectively if turned on, like I did in this game, as well as the other two, though I hadn't used it too much. Sadly, after 4 years of development, this game's history would come to a grinding halt. In 2010, the game's creators, Lee Vermeulen and Forrest Hale, made a deal with a game development company out of Colorado named IllFonic. This was to have a remake of the game that makes it proprietary garbage. It was with no intentions on returning to the now named Nexuiz classic anytime soon. This was a shock to the community, and they were rightfully angry with what the creators had done to their beloved game. There were disputes over the code and the assets, which, as mentioned earlier, are licensed under GPL 2+. This essentially forced a from-scratch rewrite of the game using CryEngine 3. It loosely resembles a few parts, bits, and bobs of the original, but doesn't share the code, art, or maps of the Libre version. The name is the same, and that's where the similarities end. Whenever you hear the name Nexuiz, it is most likely referring to Nexuiz Classic, and not the rotten, sloppy Joe platter of a game made by IllFonic. Disgusting tactics too. Talk about smelling like rancid pork chops, bratwurst, and beef wrapped into a nice package. Also, put a bow on it, that'll show 'em. Excuse me for a moment while I calm down and talk about Xonotic. Now we get into Xonotic, a fork of Nexuiz that stemmed from the 2010 buyout of the naming rights for Nexuiz. It's vastly different from Nexuiz's original design, so let's take a look at these differences. The art style is similar, including the textures. The models are different, but they look nice, especially for a modern PC game. But the voice acting and the names of the bots remain the same. Though I must say something real quick. The Crylink and the Electro, being modeled using Blender for version 0.8.5 by this dude, is something I like. Big props to Team Xonotic for implementing that into their game. Some of the levels from Nexuiz make it on here too, like Dark Zone, Quake Episode 1 Mission 6, Soylent, but spelled with an X, making it Zoylent, another Quake level. There are some original maps made for the game, totaling 18 official maps. However, there are many community-made maps that are published and downloadable off of the internet, each to varying styles and settings. Talk about a small win-win for the game's player base. This game has 16 different modes, including the classics, Key Hunt, Assault, and Next Ball. Each of the modes has a gimmick attached or at least, the ones with actual gimmicks that work well as advertised. The maps are well lit and are brighter than we have seen so far in Nexuiz. The mutators are similar to those used in Nexuiz, if not the same, but Minstagib, for example, had its name changed to Instagib. As an example, Minstagib changed to Instagib. Interesting, huh? The movement used in this game will take getting used to if you come from Nexuiz or Rexuiz. Maybe other games that focus on gunplay rather than movement. It is super fast once you know how to do it well, and you can zip around the maps pretty easily. Just make sure you know the map a little bit beforehand. The health and armor system has been reworked a bit, wherein you have the same healing mechanisms as Nexuiz, but this time, instead of up to 150 of health and shield each, you can go up to 200 of health and armor. However, they deteriorate over time. The health regenerates at a slower speed than in Nexuiz too, so keep this in mind as you play Xonotic. The weapons, as mentioned earlier, are redesigned, just like the designs show for the Krylink and the Electro earlier. Again, these are beautiful designs. Anywho, it would only be fair to mention that this game is a favorite among the FOSS gaming community, though they are small. I am part of this 2%. Even fellow Linux content creator DistroTube has been known to play this game a couple of times on his channel during his community game night streams years ago. Shout out, by the way. I'm getting off topic again, aren't I? The gunplay in Xonotic has quality of life and speed enhancements every time I play it from what I notice, compared to Rexuiz and Nexuiz. Sure, I just use my mouse wheel to switch weapons, and not keybinds on my keyboard to do so. I'm not a pro player by any stretch, so keep this in mind. From my playstyle, Xonotic would fit well for a tournament player, and there are several being made with a few actually getting players. Yes, Xonotic is an esport with its own small player base of e-athletes, though I may become one of them soon. Alas, we see ourselves with a more polished fork of Nexuiz, and even going as far as to include modern amenities and improvements that you couldn't imagine were possible during the Nexuiz days, even after 2009. It's still going strong, with a few hundred active players at peak hours today, but not too many. Nothing much more to talk about here, so let's move on to Rexuiz. Rexuiz is another fork of Nexuiz, started in 2015 from the earliest copyright date. Information on this game is sparse from the research in which I had been doing on these three games, but I'll point out a few differences I notice as an FPS player of the Pro-Am species. For one, you still have the jumping system of Nexuiz, as it tries to be faithful to what Nexuiz could have been had it not been for Vermeulen and Hale selling the rights to the Nexuiz name. Most of the elements of what make Nexuiz Nexuiz are ported over to this fork as well. It attempts to be a one-to-one recreation for modern personal computers, while still keeping the resource requirements relatively low, though I have a mid-range PC myself. Bonus: unlike in Nexuiz, you can dual-wield weapons of the same type. I've seen this when you play Best Akimbo. More bits and bobs have been added to this fork than I can go over. Another example of this is that you can specify which style the weapons are displayed, such as having almost all of them look like their Xonotic versions or their Nexuiz 2.3 counterparts. It's quite a customizable and decked-out fork of Nexuiz, though I would love to find more information about it sometime. Let us know in the comments if you have information about Nexuiz that could be useful for another video on this subject. So, what are my opinions on these three games? All of them have their unique ups and downs, but they are all good games at the end of the day. Might they be for everyone? No. Nexuiz is not for everyone, but from these boss shooters I've played, these three are your best bet, and a good chance to see the history of this use of the Quake engine in action. Yes, these are Quake games, if you hadn't noticed already. So, which one would I recommend if you asked me? If you want the original experience of what it was like in the mid to late 2000s, then Nexuiz would be your best bet. You will want to grab the latest version, 2.5, from either SourceForge, or if you use Linux, your distribution's software repositories, if the game is there. After that, you can download older versions without any issues, assuming you can get the stuff correct. What about if you just want to play competitive Nex, or want to pick up and play title? Xonotic would be a better option for you, based upon the quality of life improvements, faster pace, and more fluid movement than Nexuiz. Plus, it's easier on your eyes if you adjust the settings right. But what if you want a mix of the two? You want to play Nexuiz, but you want more quality of life improvements while sticking to what it was originally. And you don't want to have to fiddle with the binaries from the SourceForge version. That's where Rexuiz comes into play. I see potential in this project, but time will tell us what happens to Rexuiz and its development team. In conclusion, this was a quick look at the differences between the three games. Hopefully this made you interested in checking them out. All of the information you need to dig deeper on these games will be linked in the description below. Boy, do I have a lot of links to put there. That said, I am out of time for today's episode. If you like what you see and want to see more like this in the future, you can do this one of 5 ways. You can hit the like button to show your support to the Kogyules Nation. Hit the subscribe button to become a member of the Kogyules Nation community. You can hit the bell icon to be notified when new episodes arrive every Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific Time. You can comment in all of our videos, which are all open for comment. And last but not least, you can share this channel with your family and friends. We also have a server on the Discord alternative Revolt, so you will feel free to check out our Revolt server. And last but not least, I now have musical covers on my personal channel, which I will have my editor link in the description below as well. That said, thank you, and good night.